All right, welcome to the Focus. We have life coach here, Chantal Gatien,
There you go.
and she's with us today on the Focus, and she's going to talk about her business. But first of all, we're going to ask her. Well, let's get to what actually you were helping out a couple of companies first in their I guess their rise to a new level. So let's talk about that first, and how did you get those first companies off to a good start, or so to speak?
You mean like within my company or before I started
Before you
my?
before you started your company, yeah.
Yeah. I would say like I was a really employable person for a long time. Always, people saw my drive, and so I think the easiest thing for me is like what people just would throw me job offers. I was bartending for the longest time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just
Were
because,
we all, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And people would just throw me like business cards across the bar, and I remember just getting like some crazy offers from people, right? Like, just come work for me. It doesn't matter if you don't know what you're doing, we'll teach you, we just want what you got, right?
Right,
And I'd
right.
never realized that I had that thing for
Right.
a long time. And so I helped a couple companies. There was one, it was an event planning company. I came the first time I moved to Toronto from Sudbury. It was my ex-boyfriend's mom, and I just helped her out with one of the events, and then she just said, man, you have a knack for this, right? Like, and so I started working with her. We were a small company, but like I was like her go-to, right? And it happened for a couple places, and it was just, the thing was, I would always get bored, and I would always go back to bartending because there's just something that was missing, right?
Right, right.
And I realized, man, after a while, I was like, I really help build other people's empires.
Yeah.
It's time
Yeah.
to do that for myself, right?
Right.
People see something in me, and they want me to help them build their and grow their empires, right? And I was like, hey, listen, if I could do this for other people, I could do it for myself.
So, first question: how come they couldn't do it for themselves? So, if you can step out of the box and just ask, if I can ask that question, what was it about them that they couldn't get it off the ground, so to speak?
It's not the fact that you can't get it off the ground or they couldn't. They were really good at what you do. But a lot of times when you're at a stage where you want to grow and expand even bigger, you need the right support, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so you're just as good as your weakest team member most of the times, right?
It's just as good as your weakest link. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, if you've just got your right hand and people could always see the dollar signs when we'd start working together. Like, okay, with you, like I used to get all the time in with bartending, people being like, man, I used to run some restaurants and I could just see the dollar signs flying if you were working for me,
Yeah.
It didn't matter. So I think it's not the fact that they could just see a bigger picture with me around. Yeah.
So, tell us the story where you first started to, get into the badass CEO, babe, and then like, what were the first stages of that development? And tell us that story when you decided, okay, I'm gonna do this. So.
Yeah, so it was actually Badass CEO Babe has only been around for 10 months now, which is crazy for me because it feels like it's been around for ages. Like I feel like I've been doing this. This is what I was meant to do, right?
Yeah.
But I started my own business. I kind of ventured out on it about, I would say, a little over 3 years ago. And, I had that moment. I was in Bali and everything was awesome. And I remember telling the guy that was like leading this retreat that I was on, I was like, listen, I love what you're doing. Do you have, once again, I wanted to be a part of something amazing, right? A part of
Right.
a company. And then I realized like there was so much clarity that came to me when I was there. And I was like, screw this. I don't want to help you out. I want to do what you're doing, right? And I remember saying that afterwards. I was like, no, I renege, like. And so when I came back, it probably took me about 10 months for me to really branch out and start doing it. And then I really kicked off with what I knew. And I knew a lot about relationships. I was really, how do I want to put it? Really comfortable with like heartbreak. Really finding yourself and all these things and about living a better life. And so I started with what I knew, and I started a relationship coaching business, life coaching business. And then, as I was growing and expanding, I kind of reached out to a friend who had a great marketing company. He really opened up my eyes. And funny enough, I went to school for business and marketing, right? Like, I just love everything about business. And I just said, man, like, there's a huge mess and lack in the coaching industry of like how to really build a real business and how to really scale a real business instead of just showing up, being on Facebook every day. Like, there's some
Yeah.
strategies that go
Yeah.
along with it. So I was like, fuck it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it.
Right.
You're right. And so that was really the birthing of Badass CEO Babe. And really, it was one of my coaches that gave me the name, because he was like, man, like, I've never seen someone just take something, roll with it, build with it, create stuff. Like, you're just on it, right?
Right.
And that's kind of where it all came from.
And then tell us about your, you don't have to say their name, of course, but tell us a little bit about your first client or the first couple of clients and what you had to do for them, or
You
how
know
did you
what?
change their lives around, or
It was real interesting. So I'll bring you back to like when I first started the business,
Yeah.
like just the relationship coaching. I was like, hey, this is something that I want to do. Obviously you're starting a business, you're feeling, really doubtful. There's a lot of stuff that's coming up for
Lot
you.
of
Like, can
risk,
I do
yes,
this?
yeah.
Can I not do this? What's going
Mhm.
on, right? I'm a bartender still. Are people going to take me seriously? All this stuff that goes on, right? And so what I did, I said, listen, I reached out to 3 people and I said, there's something that I want to roll out. I want to do. All I want is for 4 weeks of your time. I want 4 sessions with you, totally free. And all I want at the end is like complete, honest feedback and a testimonial if you feel that it's helped and changed your life. So I reached out to 3 women that I thought would really benefit from this, and they did. And within those 3 women, after the 4 weeks, I obviously got like raving reviews.
Nice.
And those women started off like they were my first paying clients after that, right? They
Right.
didn't want to stop. They were
Right.
like, man, I've never felt so good in my life. I want to keep going. And so then I really realized, I was like, okay, I got something on my hands here. Like, I didn't even have a website or anything at the time, but I was probably up to like 12 clients within, I don't know, the first 90 days.
Yeah, nice. That's
Yeah.
great. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Word of mouth, right? Best advertising.
Absolutely. Yeah, word of mouth, putting myself out there, and just like, I think the best thing that I could have done for myself is to really try it out and get honest feedback instead of just putting myself out there and not getting any feedback at all. You
Right.
know, like no one wanting to buy. I don't know how people are going to feel afterwards. So I think that was the best thing I could have done for myself. Yeah.
And are they coming to you for both relationship questions or issues and business issues, or is it just business issues?
Now it's so since Badass CEO Babe has started, before it was completely women. Like, I was helping women really find love within themselves, stop seeking, shitty relationships, all that stuff.
Right.
But when I had to make a decision, right? I could see that I was getting, about 10 months ago, I could see that I was getting pulled in both directions. My marketing was getting kind of really convoluted. Like, it was just really washed down, watered, because I was getting pulled in different directions. And I really had to ask myself, like, which one of these is going to make me so passionate?
Yeah.
And it was the business portion of it,
Right.
right? It just fires me up. It
Right.
lights me up. So it's all business, but I've got to say, it doesn't matter, especially I'm working with female entrepreneurs, right? There's a lot of this stuff that we do within the business coaching as well, right? There's a lot of that healing work that we got to do because we're women. Let's face
Right.
it, we're women.
Okay.
Stuff comes up for us, right? So
Right.
mainly it's all about business now, right?
Right.
I let go of that to focus on my zone of genius, and that's where I'm at today. I love it.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. So, when a woman who has this great idea and wants to become an entrepreneur, and want to leave that 9-to-5 life, and they have that sort of idea, how do you help them with that transition from, or do you help? You probably do help them with that transition, of course, but like, what are some of the strategies you use in order to get them? It's a security blanket to work 9 to 5, to go commute and to get you're going to get a paycheck, but obviously you're going to have that 9 to 5, and then also do it at the same time, be an entrepreneur at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're doing 2 things at once, basically, right?
Yeah.
But how do you get them to stay motivated to still become like a woman entrepreneur throughout?
Yeah, so I think that's actually a really, really good question. Something I've been talking about a lot lately, right? Is that I think there's a lot of pressure that goes on. You know, we're in the best time in our lives to be able to create a business, an online presence. But on the same side, there's a huge downfall to that, right? There's a lot of noise out there. There's a
Yeah,
lot of noise.
absolutely.
There's a lot of influencers, a lot of people, you know, who have made it by going all in the sense of like just dropping everything and giving it their all. So my question is always, I always ask people one thing, right? When they start out, the question is, what kind of person are you, right? Are you the kind of person that needs to be backed up against, you know, you're back against the corner, feeling like you got nowhere to go and kind of fighting your way through, and that's how you get shit done and that's how you move forward? Or are you the kind of person that's going to really stress you out?
Yeah.
And, you know, the fear of not knowing when the next pay is coming in, not knowing when this is coming in is going to overtake you, that you're not even going to be able to show up powerfully, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's first of all figuring that out, right? Like, what kind of person are you? And then from there, it's taking the right action steps, you know, the intentional action steps, because it's so easy to feel like you're showing up every day, but it's also so easy to feel like you're getting lost, right? So can you leave the 9 to 5? Absolutely, 100%. But if you've got a family to feed, you know, how do you stay motivated? Well, we take baby steps, right? You don't look at your vision as something that's so huge that you can't overcome in a little bit. We take bite-sized chunks, right? And I think that's the best advice that I can give people. Strategies, there's so many different strategies. It all depends. But for me, the thing that I like to do the most is, you know, let's do all the work once and then get paid on it forever. Like, you don't have to keep doing it and showing up, right? So I create courses, packages, kind of residual income stuff with my clients.
Nice. Then you get a lot of women entrepreneurs or women who want to be entrepreneurs, you know, signing up with people with companies like Arbonne and It Works and showing that on their Instagram feed and their Facebook feed. Tell us, I guess, comment on those type of companies if you could, or if you'd like to.
So I'll be honest, a lot of those companies actually have great products. There are some of them that are amazing, right? But I think there's a disservice that those types of companies make for women who want to leave the 9 to 5 and want to make extra money. They make it sound so simple, right? And I work with a lot of clients that do this. The reality is, any kind of business that you're going to venture into takes work.
Yeah.
It's that simple, right?
Right.
Unless you're like a pioneer in that industry, you're someone who started it out, you know, and you've got a huge funnel underneath of you, it's going to take some work, right? And I think people get really, really unmotivated. They get really overwhelmed at the fact that, like, why isn't it happening so easily, right? So those companies serve a purpose for a lot of people, but I would never talk them down. It's personally not my thing. Right? Personally, not my thing. I know what my thing is, but there's a lot to be said about the structure of it, right? And realizing that it's not just going to happen overnight.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to have to put the work in it regardless of everything that's given to me, right? I can give you everything that I have, right? Right now I could sit down, I could map out everything for you, but unless you're willing to do the work, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Right?
But you see, I see a lot of women get sucked into those types of. They seem like triangle or pyramids.
Yeah.
But what they're selling to these women is like, oh, you're being your own entrepreneur. You're being your own business owner, which is like another. It seems like their pitch or their punchline to to attract more entrepreneurs. And yeah, that's my take on it.
It sounds to me like you struggle with that one. I don't know. I want to ask you the questions now.
So, and I'm like, no, and it's but you'll see somebody with stuff like It Works or something like that, and then they'll keep on posting something on Facebook and like, is it working or is it working for you? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's sort of like my take on those companies.
You're not a fan, I can see.
No, I'm not. I'm not, because it's like there's only one person in the top that's actually making the money, right? So yeah, that's my take on it. But getting back to you.
Listen, before you go, I do want to say that, if you're part of something like that, there is an opportunity for you to make money in the sense, but don't think it's going to be an overnight success,
No,
and
yeah.
get into it for the right
I think
reasons.
anything overnight's not going to happen.
No.
No, no.
That's my
Uh,
personal opinion, anyways.
Yeah. Um, so give us another example of like somebody who you've turned around or helped reach another level.
All right. Who do I want to give a shout out to right now? I'm going to give a shout out to my girl, Danielle Rubin. Go check her out. She's a badass mind-body coach. And I'm going to say this because she's got a program rolling out right now, so she wouldn't mind if you guys went and checked out her shit. You know, I help people get really clear on what it is that they want to do, because a lot of times, like I said already, right, there's so much noise out there. You see what's working for one person, you think, okay, well, maybe I can incorporate that into my business. It'll be so much easier, blah, 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 right? So I help people get really focused. And my favorite thing to do is to get people to get out of the working the dollars, trading the dollars for hours, right?
Yeah.
In the coaching industry, in the consulting industry, it's like one-on-one is how a lot of people start, but one-on-one isn't going to scale your business, right? So I like to show people how to create those passive incomes. I like to show them how to create group programs. I like to show them how to create a cult following and raving fans, right? So that when you're rolling something out, they want to do next. So Danielle had a wicked year last year, and she didn't even use her website once, right?
Wow.
And that's
Yeah.
amazing. And I feel like this year only we're tapping into what the residual income and stuff has. So I'm so excited for her. But that's the kind of stuff that I feel so like empowered in doing. When my clients are empowered, it just makes my life so much easier, right? When my girls are doing great, it just amps me up. So I think the first thing is getting really clear on what you want, the work you're willing to do for it,
Right.
and how to roll that out in the easiest way.
Oh. So who are your influences, and how do you sustain yourself? Because you gotta portray your brand, of course, to all these women, of course. But how do you stay strong yourself?
Oh, that's a tough one. First of all, I think I'm fierce. Okay?
Yes, you are.
I think I'm totally fierce. We were watching an episode last night. I forget what it was. I think it was like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette with my boyfriend. The girl was saying, you know, I'm fierce, I'm bold, I'm emotional. And he looked at me and goes, that's totally you. And I was like, that is totally me, right? I'm like all of it meshed up in one. And I think that's the beauty of the feminine being, right? Is that like, we're just so many different things attached to one. But I think the thing I got to keep reminding myself, and how to keep myself focused and how to keep myself strong, is like, I know what I have can change people's lives. I know what I
that's true.
have can make a difference in someone having a great day, a great month, a great year, right? And so I got to lead with that all the time. And if I lead with the feeling of wanting to impact people's lives instead of how do I make money, it's totally different, right?
Right.
And so for me, that's it. I also, to stay so powerful, like I always want to tune in with myself. I can be really badass, but there's a huge spiritual side of me. My boyfriend doesn't get it. He totally accepts it, but he's just like, man, like I do decks of cards, and I journal a lot and pray and meditate and, you know, talk to my girlfriends. I think that's the best thing, is always coming back to me and that alone time for me, right?
Yeah, it's very important.
So that's what, and for me lately, the biggest thing that I have been doing to help myself out to stay just like so focused and like the badass, you know, that I'm meant to be, is to actually cut out the noise. I've cut out a lot of the noise of things that would make me feel less than, or like I'm not comparing or I'm not measuring up to. I've just canceled all the noise out of that, because it doesn't matter. And I think just keeping my eyes on the lane, and my own lane, is so important. So that's what I've been doing.
Noise being example.
How can I say this? There are so many opinions out there, right? There are so many opinions on how to do things, you know, what has worked for one person, what has not worked for the
Right.
other, right? And I think when we're growing and expanding, there's always that part of us that's going to feel so freaking uncertain, that's going to feel like, I don't know, it's, you know, you always, it doesn't matter. You always get to that point where you got to break out of a new comfort zone, right? And I think in those times, like, my business has just been growing bounds and like leaps and bounds lately, that it's easy to want to look forward and seeing the people that are ahead of me and just being like, well, I'm not doing like that, or I don't have those same beliefs or anything like that. But just always coming back to my own truth, right? Always coming back to my own truth into what I want to do, and it not mattering what their shit is all about.
Right.
Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who are like coaches. They write a lot of books and how to be in life, how to live their life through how to look forward to their future. I guess you're saying you don't listen to
Yeah,
those people, and you just concentrate on what you believe in, and
Yeah.
for yourself and for the women you help out.
It's
Yeah,
so important. And I always even tell, like, when I'm doing trainings or anything, I always say the first thing I'll say is, you know what? My opinion might not be popular to you, and I want you to take with what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Take what jives with you and leave the rest, right? Take what you can out of it and leave the rest. And I'm not the coach for everyone. I'm not the consultant for everyone, and that's okay, right? Like,
Right.
that's okay, and it's knowing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
really good. So tell us about the Lazypreneur part that I found on your website.
I know you did. When you sent me like the email, I was like, man, this guy's done his research. Good for him.
But I guess we all want to do that. We want to make money while we're not working, right? So a lot of us. So it's a little comment a little bit about that.
I forget where I heard the term. I probably heard the term a couple years ago, and I was like, yeah, that's how I want to run my business, right? I think we always get the choice to decide. And so when I first started out, you're trying to grow, and I'm the website's out, everything's out. I'm talking about my relationship coaching days, and then there's this opportunity to get an office, and I was like, yeah, man, that's gonna put me out there. That's gonna set me out, put me on the bench, right?
Right.
And I got the office. It was great. Got an influx of new clients, and it was a great opportunity. Don't get me wrong, but it just did not feel aligned with me, right? And I was kind of, what was happening is, like, I was putting what I thought society would think like they could look at me and like, yeah, this person's successful, they have their own office, this and that. And it brought in those kind of clients, but they were not my ideal clients, right? Like, and the reason for that is, like, I felt like I had a revolving door. And then I remember the woman that I had the office with, she just said, when I first started out, I was at the office from 9 to 9 because I didn't want anybody to come in and me miss a sale. And I was just like, holy shit, that is not how this is not what I thought about when I started a business. Yes, am I going to do the work, but I don't want to be stuck at a desk or this or that for any amount of time. And so I realized I had to get really honest with myself, and that's that truth part that I'm talking about, right? The truth was, like, how do I want this to look like? And for me, I was like, I don't want to have to get out of my PJs during winter time if I don't have to sometimes, right?
Yeah,
I don't want to feel like I have a revolving door of clients just coming in and out, right? I want to be able to talk to people in a real way. I want to do everything from online. I wanted to stop seeing people face to face altogether. And the reason for that was, like, because I wanted to be global, right? And so if I'm restricting myself with this, it's really hard to keep going from, office to da. So I was like, you know what? And so I realized, so how else can I do this, right? And when I saw this Lazypreneur thing, I was like, yeah, I want to start making money while I sleep, right?
Right, absolutely.
I want to start creating stuff that people are going to love, that it's not going to take more time out of my day to do it, right? And that's the Lazypreneur part that came for me, is like, I want to be sitting on my couch or in my bathtub in the middle of the day and look at my phone and see money coming in.
That's fantastic. So do I.
Yeah. I can't tell you the amount of times I've talked to clients while I'm in the bathtub midday, and they're like, man, the life.
So, is there a common issue, common issue or common problem that most of your clients come up to you first in regards for you to help them out, or is there a common time in their business, so to speak, that you've noticed that it's a common time for you to help them out?
Yeah. Okay. So. At any point in time in our business, I always say, start with what you know, and that's where you grow, right? So in the beginning of doing Badass CEO Babe, I was just really teaching women simple concepts on, how to grow a business, how to even start a business. So I had a lot of startups, right?
Yeah.
And people who were really struggling with, confidence, getting out of their comfort zones, just really getting comfortable with the idea of being an entrepreneur and getting in the mindset of being an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would say about 10 months ago, that's a lot of what I was dealing with. Now I'm dealing with women who are already making like 5, 6, 7, 10 grand a month. I want to do more and easily, right?
Nice.
So now they're realizing, okay, like I've got a good setup, I've got a good foundation, but how do I, like, it's very blurry. The lines are very blurry because there's so many avenues that you could go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many avenues that you could go down, and when you're unsure, you could just start like taking in all this information. You get in that overwhelm kind of overload place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the women that come to me now that are just unsure of the next steps but are ready to take them, right? So I'm really working with like action takers and doers right
Mm-hmm.
now that are ready to just do the work, roll up their sleeves
Mm-hmm.
and get to doing the work, and who are ready to automate things, that are ready to do a little bit more work now, create courses, create group programs, stuff like that. So
And where are they in their lives, right? Most of them are they like after a couple of children, or after like one child, or are most of your clients doing it before they have children?
it's funny, I have all of them.
Which is
I
good.
have, I have,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Yes.
I have clients who have children. I have clients who have small children. I have clients who,
They're the ones who seem most motivated. I thought. Yeah.
absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's now you're getting into the era where childcare is so expensive, right? They're spending their first couple months at home with their kid, and the thought of going back to the 9 to 5 that they were just so miserable in just isn't worth it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you start calculating, okay, well, if I was going to put my child in childcare for the day and still go to work, I'm only making X amount of dollars. So really, my business only needs to start by making this amount of dollars for me to stay home with my kid, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's just we live in the most amazing times to be able to create anything that we want to.
Yeah.
If we're being called to it, it's we're being called to it for a reason, right? So I have a lot of older, not I wouldn't say older women, but women who are more settled in their lives with children, and then I have young entrepreneurs who are just like go-getters, like they are just,
They have the energy for it.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Just ready to rock, right?
yeah, they inspire me, man.
Yeah.
Like, they inspire me. So yeah.
So, what are some of those ideas from like the young entrepreneurs, or if you can talk about some of them, if you could? If you can't, don't worry about it. Like, if we can get on to the next question.
Yeah, I never asked any of them. It'd be cool if I could talk about them. Let me just tell you one thing. There's a couple things, right, for these young entrepreneurs, is that they've got a fire within them, right? And they're very moldable in the sense where, they see something happening, they want to run with it. And I don't mean moldable in a negative way. I just mean like they don't have a lot of learnt behaviors at this point in
Right.
time, right?
Right.
And so there's like sponges almost, right? And they get technology a lot easier than kind of the older generations do, right? They love being on their phone, they love being on apps, they love doing that. So showing up on social media and really putting themselves out there once we clear the blocks is like a no-brainer for them, right? But it's just about finding their voice. What I love is that the younger generations are really inspiring the younger generations to just be, better people.
Right. We're not talking about millennials here. Are we talking a little bit younger than millennials?
Yeah,
like
we're
the
talking
pre-millennials.
Yeah, we're
no.
talking about millennials, but they have younger generations that are looking up to them, right?
Right,
So showing them
absolutely.
a different way of life, like just how we don't need to be so consumed with some of the things that we think that we need to be consumed about, right? And really bringing them back to, I talk about our truth in our home all the time, but that's the reality of it, right?
Right.
There's just so much wisdom that lives within us. So it's really cool to see them rolling out stuff like that and just empowering people in that way.
What is your advice to some of your clients in regards to social media? Obviously, you've mentioned that, word of mouth is probably the biggest form of advertising you can have, not necessarily online tools to become successful. So, do you shed advice to some of your clients that it is necessary, but it's not the amount of time you need to actually be on social media.
Yeah, I think it's quality over quantity sometimes. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? Social media is the biggest tool that we have right now. It's the freest tool that we have right now. It's the easiest way to start up a business, right? Do you have to be on there 24/7? Absolutely not. I take weekends off. I take time, sometimes evenings off. That's how I choose to do my business. Other people might be different, right?
Right.
But it's you got to take it to your advantage. And I think one of the biggest things that people struggle with when they're first starting out is the thought of, what are people going to think of me, right? Like, what are my friends and family going to think of me? Are they going to be annoying? Are they going to be this? Are they going to be that? And I just say, like, listen, are those people paying your bills? Right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
are those people going to be the ones that are paying your bills? Are those people going to be the ones that are investing in you, right? And if the answer is no, then it's a non-issue anymore, basically,
Right.
in my reality. It's a non-issue. Did I worry about those things when I first started out? Yeah, absolutely. Do I worry about, some of the stuff that I say that grandparents might see? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, they're not the ones that are paying my bills,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's one of the biggest tools you have in your tool belt right now. And you have the opportunity to be everywhere. Is word of mouth great? Yeah, absolutely. But word of mouth isn't going to do anything if they have nowhere to send them to, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is, because there is so many opportunities out there today, right? It's whoever's in the forefront of your mind that people are going to, when they're ready to make a move, when they're ready to make a decision, when they're ready to invest in something, they're going to invest in that person that's in the forefront of their mind. So
Absolutely.
why wouldn't you want to be that person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You seem to when you're talking about like noise and like it seems like you do a lot of cutting a lot of the fat out of some a person's perspective or focus, and that seems to be something you do well. So
Yeah, I'd say I don't let them get away with too much bullshit.
yeah. But can you maybe comment a little bit about that? And then, like, obviously for yourself, it works for yourself. So, getting away from all that noise and stuff. How does that help out your clients? Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you. Working with women, we're really like intricate beings, right? You know this, men versus women, whatever. But I teach them a lot about behavioral stuff, and there's going to be roadblocks that happen in our business, and a lot of times those roadblocks come from like issues that we haven't dealt with from such a long time, and we don't even realize it, right?
Okay.
And so that's a lot of the fat cutting that we do. First of all, is realize, where does this stem from, right? Where does this belief, this thought, this behavior kind of stem from? And we go back and we cut that fat first, right? Because the reality is when we're behaving in a way, it's coming from somewhere within.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so that is coming from and we will start surrounding ourselves with the same kind of people, right? If we're feeling a certain way, we're feeling down, we're going to surround ourselves with people who feel down because we don't want to be brought up or whatever, right? We want to stay in our shit. Same thing. So if I'm not successful at something, there's a pattern within me that's stopping me. There's a belief, there's a thought, there's a story, there's a behavioral system within me that's stopping me from that, right? And so we figure that out, because what's happening is if I was as a kid, I'll take me for example. As a kid, I was bullied. We lived in Thunder Bay. I was not, like, I was the new kid. I was very, very bullied, and I never realized, like, growing up, I brought that into how I showed up with people. I would put myself in situations where, I would feel kind of like the outsider and not feel good enough. And I was like reliving that, right? Not even realizing it.
Yeah.
And I was doing the same thing in my business for a really long time too, right? Kind of surrounding me with people that made me feel less than this and that. Without even realizing it, right? And I never realized that this was something that was holding me back from such a long time ago. So this is, and so that's what I mean by cutting out the fat, right? It's like, well, you said cutting out the fat, but that's what we do.
Or cutting out the noise, yes.
Yeah. Right? That's what we do, is we realize, where the hell is this coming from? Right? And that's some of the biggest mindset work that I do with women entrepreneurs, is just being like, okay, we're stopping this right now. Like, we're going to go back, we're going to fix this, we're going to heal this so that you can move forward powerfully.
that pretty much is like trying to put on like a winning culture mindset towards their goals, right? And yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, tell us about the classes that you've started and how you actually implemented that and how you structured that.
Okay. So I'll tell you about the latest one that I just did, and then I'll tell you. We got time?
Yeah, oh yeah, we have tons of time.
See,
Plenty.
I got your watch there. I'm like, oh god, have I been talking that long already?
No, we have tons of time.
Okay, so the latest one I just rolled out was Aligned as Fuck. And it was called Getting Paid to Be You, because I see it so often is that, there's either when you start out, there's this weirdness, you don't know, you're unsure, the confidence is lacking, whatever it is. Or even, let's face it, at any stage in our business, this happens, right? It's like we almost need to hit a reset button and just come back to our roots, come back to our truth, come back to the basics. Sometimes coming back to the basics is the easiest thing that you can do, right?
Absolutely.
Quit overcomplicating stuff. So it was a digital offer that I wanted to do. And so when I roll out digital offers, a course that's going to just be, on my website as part of my funnel that is just going to be kind of a recurring source of revenue for me.
Yeah.
I roll it out live first. I roll it out live for a couple of reasons. One, to see if there's any holes, like if I'm teaching it and people are really grasping it, then I'm not doing a good enough job teaching it. And if it's live, people can ask questions,
right,
and we can get that clarity, right? And so for the second one too is to get comfortable with, how is this selling in a way, like what kind of things were people attracted to when I was talking about it selling, and then I get testimonials, right? And so I created a digital copy of it, boom, I never have to look at this again. It's just making me money on the side. And can I just give a shout out right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's $33 until midnight, going up to $99 forever afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's a 1-hour digital course. It's a workbook. I had raving reviews from this one. And I do fun stuff like this probably every few weeks. I'm coming out with a new one in 2 weeks. But there's one program that I do almost quarterly. It's my signature program. It's called the Badass CEO Babe Academy. And this helps women with mindset and strategy. So, for people who want to have a 6-figure mindset, you got to think a certain way, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't just be leaving a $35,000 a year job and just think, oh, well, I'm going to make, 6 figures real easy. If you would already be making that. Right? You would already be, hustling on the side, doing things to be making that. It's not that easy, right? Your mindset needs to shift a little.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your perception needs to shift a little.
Your body language, everything. Yeah.
Everything,
yeah.
right? How you present yourself.
I think that goes for everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody, not only women, just like everybody across the board.
Absolutely, right? So it's a shift in perception, a shift in mindset, a lot of that healing work that I told you we're doing, just a lot of uncovering the bullshit and, cutting out the noise. And then I teach them strategies, how to really get in front of your ideal client, how to market yourself, how to have sales conversations. So I teach them the basics. I'm not just saying put yourself out there and go on, Instagram and Facebook. I teach them basics on how to be a businesswoman.
But I mean, it's hard for some people to cut those roots that make them, you know what I mean? That make them, like cutting those roots from back in Thunder Bay when you were a bully. It's really hard to cut those roots, right? And like getting someone to open up and just like transform. I bet that's a big challenge for yourself.
It's one of the hardest things, and I think because I'm able to get super vulnerable and super honest, I create a space and a container for people where they feel comfortable in being able to do so. That's number one thing.
Yeah.
Uncovering this stuff, does that mean it's going to change right away? Absolutely not, right? It's going to come up in different areas in different ways, and it just allows you to go one level's like a level deeper into being able to heal that thing and to be able to move forward and to being able to take different action towards it, right? So is it difficult? Yeah, 100%, but that's what I do and that's what I have a knack for, right?
Right.
So if you want to make the changes, come to me. If you want to sit in your shit, well, then don't come to me because I'm not going to let you. Get out of here.
But they say, you are the 5 people you hang out with, right? So, a lot of people will always be comfortable with those 5 people, right? So, and to change that mindset to get to the next level, having someone so comfortable in in their mindset and with the circle of people that they're surrounded with, how do you get them motivated to get to that next level, or if you do that?
So you know what? I'll be so brutally honest right now. Those aren't my people, right? Those are not the people that I work with. I don't want to have to feel like I'm pulling teeth in order. I do have a message for those people, but I'm just telling you,
Yeah,
as an
absolutely.
entrepreneur, I think it's really important to realize like who your yes clients are and who your no clients are, right?
Yeah.
And people that I feel like I need to persuade or pull teeth or whatever to be able to just change their mind or even have an open mind towards something different, they're not my people, right? Like
Right.
I embrace change. And here's the deal. And one of a woman that I was part of a group with, she posted this amazing post a couple days ago, and it was about like, with change comes loss always, even if it's the most amazing change in the world, right? Something you've been wanting for a long time, you're probably going to have to let something go
Absolutely.
in order to gain this, right? So it might be friends, it might be a place to live, it might be whatever, right? Like, but with change there is a sense of loss, right? And if you're too busy grappling on to something with the fear of like the what ifs instead of the faith of what the possibilities are, A, you're not my people, but B, I've got something to say to you, right?
Yeah.
Because I can
You hear
empower the
that?
shit out of you, okay? I can
You hear
empower the shit out of you. But
You hear that? Yeah.
here's the thing. When
But
we're,
you must encounter that with your clients, like 100%.
you know
No?
what? Absolutely. But it all comes down to you wanting to make a decision, right?
Right,
You've got to make
absolutely.
the decision for you. I mean, I come from a background of recovery, and no one could have ever gotten me to make that decision, to put drugs down, to put this down, to do whatever, if I wasn't willing, right? So you got to make a decision. You got to take inspired action afterwards.
Right.
And inspired action can be anything, right? It can be anything. It could start like some of the biggest inspired action can be starting to say no.
Right.
Right? Is it going to feel so uncomfortable? You want to crawl out of your skin the first time you're going to say no to someone and not give an excuse why? Yeah, absolutely. But it's the biggest yes that you can give to yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And so those people, that's what I say, how can you start saying yes to you more and no to the things that aren't in alignment to you? How can you start taking daily imperfect action towards your own truth and start letting go of the rest, right? Because you can say you want it all you want, but until you start, taking
Making those
actions,
steps, yeah.
yeah, the universe isn't going to conspire, it's with you in
Yeah.
that sense.
The world's not gonna
No.
revolve the way you want it to if you keep
No.
on saying yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it
but
did.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
it did. So what are some
Sometimes I feel like I can go on tangents and just like
No,
get
no,
off
no,
on-
no, no. Absolutely. What are some of the so you must encounter some challenges, not with the people, but just like the structure of your business, or just the way you want things to roll out with your business. Like, talk a little bit about that. And of course, with any business, you are going to come up with challenges. But how did you solve those challenges, and what solutions did you have for those? If you'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, so I actually love challenges, right? I think when you're running into challenges and problems into your business, I think that's a good thing. That means that there's, unless you're running into the same problems and same challenges over and over again, you've got a problem, right? This is bigger than me. But no, like challenges and problems in your business are awesome because there's always going to be a solution that's found in those problems, right? And so usually you should encounter challenges and problems in a sense when you're growing because you're embarking on something new, right? And so there's going to be new problems, there's going to be new processes, there's going to be new tweaks that you need to do, there's things aren't going to work out properly, whatever it is. So can I give you an example of
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I love technology, right? Technology's like at our fingertips everywhere, and some people just are so scared of it, right? Like they just feel like there's a million and one things to do. And don't get me wrong, if you want to have a business that's automated and 24/7 running, yeah, there's gonna be some work to be done,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Especially in the world that we live in right today. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? You're gonna need to do some work, some front end work in order to get things going.
Yeah.
But people get so scared by that they don't even allow themselves the opportunity to see like the amazingness on the other side,
Okay.
right? And so I think for me, what I started doing for people, we started doing some done for you services in my business. That's like, you know what? Instead of you feeling like you're racking your brain and don't understand and this and that, we're just going to do it for you. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
we're going to increase our costs a little. We're going
yeah,
to do it for you.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because my job is to make people's lives easier, right?
Hmm.
Make people's businesses easier. And so that was kind of one of the roadblocks that I started realizing in my business. Like, I see the beauty in this and I see how easy it is. You're unable to see it right now, right? Like,
Hmm.
you're kind of just stuck in your own little box, but like, let me show you how. And instead of like trying to convince people, like, let me show you how, I'd be like, let me do this for you. Let
Yeah.
me train you on it
Hmm.
and you're good to go, right?
Right.
Of course.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who, well, just a lot of people in general are just like, I want to start a business, but I don't know even how to put anything on like a web page. I don't even know how to start a web page, and there's so many opportunities for someone to learn about putting something on a web page. It's not too difficult, but I guess it's just a fear of technology. Is that it, or like,
You know what? It's so funny because like I said, we have so much accessible at our fingertips. And I remember that marketing company that I told you, my buddy. Um, he'd be like, 3 words. I got 3 words for you, right? And it's always stayed with me. Google that shit. And I was like, oh my God. It's like you can learn anything from Google, right?
right?
But or YouTube or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But people get so like caught up down the rabbit hole of like there's just so much going on. I don't know. I get overwhelmed, blah blah blah. Is this the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? Um
Yeah.
so anyway, so I think people just get super overwhelmed and sometimes it baffles me. I'm like, you don't know how to do the simplest things. You can definitely look, for it. So I just show people.
Right.
Right? I
Right.
just show people like for me it might be so simple and I got to remind myself this is my first language, this is their 10th language. Let me just take 10 minutes and show you.
Yeah. Just show them where the water is, right? And
Pretty
then
much.
and if the horse doesn't take any, is what's that saying? I'm sorry. If the horse doesn't take a drink out of the water, then that's the horse's problem or something like that. I don't know. Well, there is a water if you're still thirsty. And yeah.
I can't do anything for you. You don't want to drink.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get
You
it. I
almost
get it.
dry.
I get it. But yeah, I just find.
I'm trying to think of the saying now.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
whatever.
I think it's fear of technology, and just I think it's just there's a certain laziness about technology too. There's a lot of people who are very tech savvy in this world. As I went to a collision conference today, there's a lot of women entrepreneurs, a lot of people just in that at the Anacare Center today. Just like they're all ready to go, all ready to show their applications. But then there's another side of people who are just like tech lazy, don't have a clue.
Okay, so yeah, so this is what I'll say on that. I think also like we look at those people like they make it look so easy, right?
Yeah.
And they probably do now, but it's I think in our industries we like to glorify things. Like even when you said like the multi-level marketing companies, everything like that, right? We like to glorify just how amazing everything is. This and
Yeah.
that. We don't talk about the struggles, right?
Yeah. No.
Sometimes I don't talk about like that aligned as fuck launch. I didn't even put the prices in there. I didn't put the right links to it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and I had someone messaging me, and I was like, oh my god, thank God you said something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes we don't talk about those things, but the reality is like it's never really that easy. And I learn a lot more from the mistakes that I make than just feeling like I need to do everything perfect, right? And I
Yeah.
always say like take imperfect action. I would rather you
Yeah.
take imperfect action, mess it all up,
Mm-hmm.
learn from it, come back stronger than not doing anything at all.
That's the
right?
worst. Worst. I mean, this like, yeah, that's the worst. Like not taking the shot that you're supposed to, right? And yeah, no, I totally get it. I totally get it. But yeah, it's like you can't convince some of these people to how would I say, get with the times and like get with the technology. They're just still there's a still certain like I said, there's a certain fear, and there's nothing you can do about it. But let's discuss who are some of your biggest influences right now in like getting to or do you have a mentor yourself, like another coach that's actually influencing you?
Yeah, so I think it's really important, like, that I gotta say, you don't absolutely need a coach in order to be successful, right? But you definitely need one at every time that you want to up level, right? Like, because when you want to learn something new, you want to expand, you want to grow into something new, you don't know that shit, right?
Right.
And it's so much easier to learn from someone who's done it. So I would say about twice a year, I get mentored. And you know what I really love about my last coach is that she even said it to me. She goes, she wasn't the type that was like, let me just keep rolling you back into the money pit, right? She's like, we've learned a lot in the last 3 months, and I want you to take what you've learned in the last 3 months, implement it, and then come back, right? And I think that's so important, is that, like, there's not going to, yes, I have mentors. I've had many over the last 3 years. I will continue to have amazing mentors, right? When I feel aligned with someone, call to them. But I think the biggest thing we need to remember with mentors is that, like, they're not the magic pill.
No, I know that. I know
Plain
that.
and simple, right?
Yeah.
No, but I see this so often, right? Is that, like, they think that they're gonna, it's got a high ticket value to it. It's whatever. That's going to be the magic pill. The magic pill is doing the work. That's the magic pill.
No,
I don't know what to tell you, but
Yeah.
that's the magic pill, right? So unless you're willing to do the work, like, don't invest in someone, right? Because you're just going to be stuck playing the victim card.
Is there somebody that you love listening to in terms of, like, you love hearing them talk, whether that be someone famous or whether that be someone that you actually know and then you probably give a shout out to? But is there
Okay, let me
somebody
give
like
some
like for
shout-outs.
me, like for me, I love listening to Jordan Peterson. That guy just, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, and he just lays it out in the way life is and the way life works. And he well, there's some things that, they're very controversial about him. Of course, everybody knows that. But I just find that it just inspires me to actually listen to him talk, along with a couple others, like maybe like Ben Shapiro and stuff. But
Oh, I love it. It's like we have totally different tastes.
but yeah, for example, like, who do you like listening to, or who do you like listening to talk that actually inspires you? Yeah.
Okay. Who do I have lately? Okay, I love Grant Cardone. Have you ever heard of Grant Cardone? Yeah, I love him. He just don't give a fuck, He doesn't. But I love his drive. I love how he shows up. I love how, anything goes for him. I love him. I'm really attracted to energy, like people's energies and passion and
Yeah.
stuff like that. He's one of them. I recently stumbled upon this girl, Sarah Dan. Dan. I don't even know how to pronounce her last name. Love her. She's in the coaching industry. Amazing coach. I think I'm attracted to her because we have very similar styles. We have very similar styles, and I just love seeing women, like, pump out strategies and talk about strategies, and
Yeah.
I love that shit, right?
Nice.
She's another one. Who else? Badass Business Babe, Lauren Liz. She was my last coach. Love her. We're very, very similar in a lot of ways. So I'm very attracted to people that are very
Very
much like
Like
me. Yeah.
yourself, yeah.
And I love Frank Kern too, because he's like all about marketing. I love reading all of his stuff, taking a lot of his courses. So I stay very educated. Let's just put it that way. I would say those are my tops.
So remind me, Grant Cardone, 10-Time Rule, right?
Yeah.
I have that book. That's a great book.
That is a great book. I want to go to
fucking
his you know what?
fantastic.
I'd love to go to his conference.
It's he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He makes me feel good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right? And
like,
that's what you
he
want to
makes
surround
me-
yourself
Yeah,
with.
he makes me think that things are approachable or things are attainable.
Yeah.
Just putting your mind to it. Yeah, like there's certain books, like there's certain self-help books that I'll read and I'm like, that's kind of like, it's not for me, or it doesn't align with me. But Grant Cardone's book, it totally aligned to me. I read it in like a day and a half.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that one on a beach
Yeah,
somewhere.
and but there's a lot of people who have their, their self-help books, and they're talking about the way people should live their life, or or run their business. But you have the interactive part, right, with yours, and you don't, like, So tell us the advantage of actually doing that rather than just writing a book and just here. You know what I mean? So the interactive part, I think is just next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I would love to write a book. I got so many ideas for them, and I think I'd write a fucking killer book. But I I think the best way to lead is through experience and through impact, right? And to be able to just hold someone's hand and be like, yeah, I get it. Been there. These are my struggles. These were my struggles. This is what we do, right? And so I love interacting with women and with just people in general because they get a real sense of who I am, right? Like
Right.
I'm pretty, I could put some lipstick on and stuff, but I can be pretty rough around the edges. I'm still a country pumpkin.
Yeah, I don't want to serve that table.
Yeah. I'm not going there.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm not going there. Yeah, and so I think just being able to lead from a place of, yeah, I've been there, you know what I mean, and being able to have that conversations with people instead of treating. Here's the thing, I never want to feel like I'm on a pedestal, and I've learned that. I've learned that through my being bullied as a child.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? I want to always make people feel included. I don't care if you make $100,000 a month, $1,000,000 a month, or $1,000 or not less than that, right? Like
Right.
I want everybody to be part of the conversation, and I think that's what's really important. That's how I've wanted to build my business structures. Like I don't care who you are, where you're at. I want to be able to help you at some level, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so I think the conversation piece is the most empowering piece that we can have because people get a real sense of who you are because no one's going to get my sarcasm through a book, right?
Right. Yeah.
No one's going to get that I'm laughing my ass off as I'm writing this piece.
So what do you think of excuse well, you're not in the 9 to 5 industry. I'm gonna call it an industry now. The workplace, so to speak. And I don't know, it's just like there's a lot of people or there's a lot of companies trying to change the actual culture of a lot of companies now. Now that you're out of the box and seeing this happen through a lot of like smaller companies dealing with bigger companies trying to change the culture, just doing what you're doing but on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
But you're not I know you're not doing the 9 to 5 thing, but why do you like comment on that and why are companies doing that, trying to change the culture of like so many of these big successful companies?
Yeah, I think culture is so important. Like I worked for the Keg restaurants for, I think it was like 7 years I worked for them, and it was really hard to leave because of the culture, right? And the
Yeah.
culture was instilled from very high up. You could tell, like just the way that managers were trained how to, deal with circumstances and issues and problem resolution. Like it was really hard to leave for that aspect, right? They taught me a lot about what a company should be like. And I think because everything is so accessible, you got LinkedIn jumping into your inbox every day offering you new opportunities, this and that. There needs to be a reason for people to stay now, right?
Right.
And so culture is so important because you can feel like a real, it's just companies buying out companies buying out companies. You're not small companies anymore. You're working for big corporations, right? You're
Right.
working for umbrella companies. And so it's really important to feel like you want to be you're a part of, you're heard, that you're valued. And that is going to be the biggest way that you can retain employees today, right?
Right.
You want to be able to create a culture that, you go home and you're not bitching about work, you're not angry, you're not upset about it, you're happy, you're talking great things, like that's what you want. And everything, like, you've got these, what is it, green tomato, what is it, do you know what I'm talking about? It's like you can go and review the job that you've worked at. So
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Is
I think it is green tomato. I'm
Is
not too
it?
sure, but I think you're close.
I've never
yeah.
had to look into it because
Yeah.
I don't have an issue.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll be on green
Yeah.
tomato, like Chantal Gatien. But, there's just, you can just get flagged so easily nowadays, right? Like there's just, it's hard to get a bad review out there. It's hard to get rid of it. So, why not? And if people are going to spend their lives at work today, we talk mental health is such a big issue on so many levels. People are, especially in the GTA here, people are driving an hour in an hour out from work. Like,
Yeah.
you got to make that work. It can't be a hostile environment, right? I think the culture is so important. And I absolutely love that they are going in a position, right, where they're trying to make the environment better. They're trying to make the workplace better for their employees. Yeah.
So what do you think about the cuts that is it Doug Ford? Yeah, Doug Ford is actually doing in terms of just cutting a lot of stuff. But does that help women entrepreneurs?
It's a tough one. I hate talking about politics. I'm not gonna lie. It's funny because a lot of my family members, where I'm from, to have a successful life, you kind of had to work for the government or work for
Yeah.
the mines or work for something like that, right? So I've had a family members that have been kind of affected and friends that have been affected to that, and it's tough to say, like, is that going to push people to want to do something right? Possibly, but I think it also, if you're a working mom, maybe you're a single mom, I think it might affect them in a negative way, right? Because they might invest into something that they think could be a quick fix, and it just
Yeah.
leads them down the wrong hole. So
Yeah.
does it create more opportunities to become female entrepreneurs? I hope so, because my mission is to create as many CEOs, female CEOs of their own companies as I can, right? So I hope they get pushed into my arms in a sense where I let me show you the way.
Right.
But will people be willing to take that opportunity? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, is there a message that I could send those people? Like, yeah, don't let this man take anything from you. Don't let this rob you from any opportunities. The sky's the limit. The world's yours. Just do the work.
Yeah. So tell us one of the most I'm pretty sure all of your clients you're gratified, but can you give us an example where you felt so much gratification within your heart that this person you've helped out, and like it's an inspiring story itself.
Oh God, I can't honestly, like. I'll share a story with you. When I first started out my business, I remember just telling a friend, like, I just want to be so successful, right? Like, I just want this to be successful. And he, like, because if you knew who this person was, even though the fact that you asked me this question, you'd probably be like, wow, like, that came from him, And he was like, what does success mean to you? Like, define success. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
a lot of people have different levels, like different
Yeah.
Perspective of what success is, right?
Yeah,
Totally.
and I think for me, it was like, I was like, wow, like, I never even thought of that. I've never been asked that. Like, I don't know. And so I sat and I said, when people have that aha moment or that breakthrough, like, I feel so successful in that moment, right? And he just said, oh, awesome. That's great. Like, how many times a day does that happen? I mean, this was in the starting out stages. I was like, well, I don't know, like 5-6 times a day. And he was like, yeah, I'd say you're pretty successful. Right?
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, man. And I focus on that, like, like I said earlier, right? This is my first language. It's people's 10th language. And so, something that's so minute to me and it's so mind blowing for them, I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. Right? Like, when in the beginning, it was when women just realized that they didn't need those shitty men to feel good about themselves, right? Like, those were amazing. But I get messages on a daily basis, DMs and just private messages on a daily basis, how I empower them and how I've changed their lives. You know what I mean? So I can't even pinpoint it to one thing.
You're right.
I couldn't.
But you
be
like
able
you like the collective part of like all
Yeah.
these messages.
Yeah.
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, like, it's like people don't even need to pay to be part of, a transformation. Do transformations happen when they're with me? Yeah, all the time. I get them all the time. I get off a call with a client, I get a message almost right away, instantly. Like, and it happens almost every time, right? This is what I was meant to do. It's absolutely 100% my wheelhouse.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what kind of advice would you shed for those who are watching, for those who are wanting to become their business owners and such, or entrepreneurs? What are some of the primary advice that you'd like to give them?
I wish I would have, like, thought of something so amazing. I was actually reading a book before you came in here today because I was like, I don't even want to think about this. I didn't want anything to be too polished. Okay, here's what I want to say for anybody who wants to do, always come back to your truth, number one, right? What is, if you are being called to do something and you're being led to it, you're being led to it for a reason, right? So always listen to that. And I this one thing, and it was taught to me when I wanted to invest with myself with this one woman, and I was like, I'm not willing to pay that much, right? And she came back to me and she came down on her prices, and I had invested with someone else, and I said, damn it, I just invested with someone else. And she said, you're always worthy of it, right? Don't stop until. We don't stop until. And that until can be for many different things, for many different people, right? But for me, it's don't stop until you've gotten to that point where you feel like it's enough, and then keep going, and don't stop until then, right? Like, I don't care if it takes you 6 months, a year, 3 years to have that breakthrough, that like you're feeling amazing, or you feel like you've made it, or you've accomplished it, or you're in your own wheelhouse, you're in that place where you want to be. You don't stop until, right? Barriers are there for a reason. They're meant to make you resilient. They're meant to make you think differently. They're meant to make you step out differently, all of these things, right? So just don't stop. And they're never failures. It's never, ever a failure. You had a launch that sucked and you got $0. Great. Go back to it, revamp it. Don't think everything's fucking over, right? Like, nothing's over until it's over. You have not failed until you quit completely.
Right.
That is it. So my biggest message is do it. First of all, do it, right? Just do it. Get the help if you need help. But you don't stop until.
Nice.
Yeah.
So where can we find you, Chantal, on all over?
Everywhere, everywhere.
On the net, particularly. And then tell us about how one can enroll in these classes that you have.
Okay, so I'm mostly active on Facebook and Instagram. So on Facebook, I've got a group called Badass CEO Babe. Look it up. Come join me. I'm in there daily. Either doing live videos, inspiring. That's where I get, as much information. If you guys need help, I don't care. I will teach you how to do anything in that group. I'm not scared to give away any of the knowledge that I have. You can find me just on Facebook as well as my name, Chantal Gatien. Do you have it written down on the thing? So do I need to spell it out? Because it's a weird last name.
No, it's it's spelled out correctly, Jeff, right, Jeff?
Jeff?
It's spelled correctly. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and on Instagram, I'm at Badass CEO Babe. Come follow me, say hi. I love interacting with new people. I actually legit love interacting with new people. I don't just say that to say that. So come say hi, tell me what's up. And then www.badassceobabe.com. You can find me there. That's, I keep that pretty up to date. What's coming up next. I obviously talk a lot on Facebook and Instagram of what's coming up next. Like I said, tonight at midnight it ends. You get aligned as fuck training for $33 if you want my powerhouse, coaching. Couple things that are coming up next. I actually haven't told anyone about this one, so I'm kind of gonna. Yeah, why not? I'm gonna spill the beans. I'm going to spill the beans for you. Monday, Wealthy CEO drops, and that's just a one-on-one mentorship with me. So if you're ready to really make some moves in your business, let's do the damn thing. And then at the end of the month, my academy will open up again. So you can get on the wait list on my website if you want. It's going to be limited to 25 women this time around. So if you're in, you're in. If you're not, there's always next time.
Chantal, thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking the time to actually do this. I want to thank you for making an impact on people's lives, which is the most important thing, and making lives better in such a hectic world that we live in. And I want you. I appreciate you, and thanks for coming in, and I want you to always keep on going as well.
Yeah, thanks. You know what? I've got to say, I've known you for, 8 years now, and maybe longer.
I think so. 10 years, a decade now.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's been you've kind of done exactly what I said. You know, you don't stop until, and just to see where you're at today, and you never gave up. Like that's inspiring to me, right? So
Yes.
thanks for having me here.
Yeah.
It's a
Thank
good
you,
time.
and hopefully we'll see you soon here on the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.